So another statistic that's interesting, psychiatrists have admitted that uh, the probability of false diagnosis is much higher than what we are saying it is currently. And the reason for that is because of co-occurring morbidity, or in other words, things, different things that are going on at the same time. For me, when I was, like I said, when I was addicted to cocaine, I went to the doctor because I was having panic attacks. Go figure, you know. I was having like almost nervous breakdowns. Well, of course I was. I was doing an 8 ball of coke every day, you know. Of course I'm going to be having some problems with my nerves. But I didn't say that to the doctor. Didn't tell them that. I just told them I feel like I'm dying every now and then. My heart feels like it's going to explode. So what did the doctor do? He said, okay, no problem. You have panic disorder. That's what I diagnose you with. And to treat you, I'm going to give you a prescription called Xanax. And then there was that whole thing that I went through with Xanax. Way worse than Coke, by the way, Grant. Oof. Coming off of benzos is a horrible thing. But once you get through it, you know, then you realize just how powerful those things really were in your life. But my point I'm making is, if you're not 100% honest with the doctors and those trying to help you, you're going to get misdiagnosed. And, you know, have you ever seen anybody that's done a lot of methamphetamine?
I haven't. Well, I have on TV. Meth isn't a big drug in the UK compared to what I'm led to believe it is in the States.
Yeah,
It's mostly
I mean,
heroin over here.
yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. You know, I
Yeah.
heard that. My friend that lives over there told me that they have a lot of people coming in to where he works with that affliction. Yeah, here it's you just throw a rock and you're going to hit somebody that has some here in Phoenix. So it's pretty bad in this area. But the drug keeps you awake so long, for so many days, and eventually you go into what's called psychosis. So where you're seeing things and hearing things that aren't there, auditory hallucinations, and so if you walk into the Mayo Clinic even here and you're telling them that you're hearing voices and you're hearing things that aren't there, what are they going to possibly diagnose you with? Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia. Yeah.
That's an SMI, by the way.
Yeah.
You get the card for that one. So you know that's what I'm saying is uh, we're coming to an age where technology as well, where AI is going to be able, and this is probably the one area where I think it can do some good. AI in the medical and mental health fields is going to be able to clear up a lot of that misdiagnosis. I believe that. Um, and it also will help people find curative measures to treat people that don't involve like powerful narcotics and drugs. But that's also going to upset the masters, or the people at the top of the staircase, the Black Rocks of this world, who, by the way, now own the lion's share of all what? Music distribution companies. So they own the music. They own the pharma companies. It's like if you can't see the connection between with all of this, it's pretty obvious to see. The one common denominator, I guess, is greed. Everybody is just obsessed with making as much money as they can. And I don't think there's anything wrong with making money. We need to do it to survive in this world. But, I do believe and advocate for fair wages, fair pay, and fair valuation of a product. And a product would be an album, a masterpiece that someone has created. I wonder how many of those are on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah, man.
You know, Yeah, I mean, seriously, because the label shelves it because they, for whatever reason, the business reason of things, and they couldn't come to terms with the band or whatever the case may be. Uh, we should let fans, and I'm a fan just as much as I am a musician. I would like to be able to support the bands that I believe in and that I love, and make sure that they got the money that I gave. You know, um, if I go out and buy a Nine Inch Nails record right now, I know Trent's pretty well off, but I wonder how much of that he's going to see.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. He's jumped to the next level, which we could talk about that on a whole different podcast about, well, then how then do these guys transcend and become more like the masters and less like the slaves? Because if you're watching like the Taylor Swifts or the Korns of the world, who brilliant guys, by the way, they figured out the equation. They broke their own personal glass ceilings, and you know and basically overcame what the label would have done to them for the rest of their lives if they let them do it. So yeah, so it is possible, but uh, as a community, if we could just say three things. Number one would be, sorry to use bad language on your program,
Go
but
for it.
fuck stigma. Okay, get rid of stigma. There is no shame in saying that you're struggling. And anyone who makes you feel ashamed, well, that's a mental illness all its own. Okay. So if you are struggling with mental health or substance use, reach out and talk to someone and say it. Just say the words. I could use some help. I would like some help. That was hard for me to say. It took a lot of people breaking my arm basically before I was willing to say that. But after I walked through those doors, man, I can't even tell you. Uh, Now I look back at that person who was resisting, and it's almost like I'm like, what were you thinking? This isn't as
Absolutely, man.
difficult. Yeah, isn't as difficult as as I thought it was. And there are a lot of people that are here with me that support me, and a lot of champions of mental health and okay.
Uh, I'll just get it back on record. Anybody that's watching is going to be able to see the lighting change on me because we tripped a
Right.
fuse in the house when James was
Wow.
mid-flow. I mean, James, one of the most profound things that I'd take out of that last statement, I like the fuck stigma,
Yeah.
basically, because that is what it needs to be. You've mentioned a lot of stuff there in relation to, you're talking about psychosis in relation to addiction and what have you. And I mean, I work with people with psychosis on a near daily basis, so I see the way society views a very, very bad illness as almost as if it's inherent evil. And I think
Yeah.
that's something
Yeah.
that needs to be broken with a lot of mental health issues, is
Oh
that this
yeah.
isn't people being bad. This isn't people
Right.
being evil. These are people that need help.
Exactly. And let's just cut to the chase right here and there, uh, right here and now, I should say. Someone that's struggling with mental health is not demon possessed. Okay, there's that's not demon possession. They are, you know, the spirit of depression, the spirit of what all this talk from religious systems that again push the stigma machine even further, in thinking that these you're a bad person if you have this going on. But like I said, we all get sick. We all get sick in our body. We all get sick in our mind at times. It's all of us. It's not just certain people of the world. We all struggle with mental health at one point or another. That's honesty, man. So if someone just has a worse case of the chicken pox than this kid, are we really going to say that they're a bad person, or that they should be isolated from the community, or not allowed to work or earn a living? That's ridiculous, because you know the sooner we get rid of that word, that stigma word, and start treating mental health like for what it is, it's a human condition. And
Absolutely, man.
you know, and this whole topic of addiction as well. That is another one that I could go on for hours. And I've got nothing against people in 12-step programs. If you're working a program in the 12-step program, good for you. If it's working for you and keeping you clean, great. Myself, I tried it and failed many times with the 12-step program. And it wasn't because I didn't have a concept of a higher power. I don't have any problem with that. What got me was the stigma that is preached in those rooms. And the stigma is, well, someone gets up and shares, I know that if I go out drinking tonight, that's going to be it. That'll be the last time, I'll tell you. I'm going to die if I go back and drink again. You know what? If you're lucky, you're going to die. Okay. What'll generally happen is you'll stay drunk for several months and get sicker physically and be a burden on your family and the hospitals and everything. And yeah, it's nice to have that swan song, sorry symphony, but that's usually not how it works. Here's the reality. I today am not powerless over alcohol and drugs. I'm not. That doesn't mean I'm not a real alcoholic either. If I choose to drink, that's exactly what I will become again. I'm not saying that people get better and are cured from things like addiction, but yeah, they are. Just like a cold or the flu, people can recover. I have no interest right now in going out and getting wasted or calling the beeper and having Fiend come bring me cocaine. I don't have any interest in that right now. What happened? Did I suddenly, did I find the golden ticket of treatment and recovery? No, I'm not saying that, but I do know this. The new research is showing that the real opposite of addiction is not so much sobriety, it's community. It's community. What happened with me is a bunch of people who really cared stepped in and said, hey, man, what are you doing? This is not like you. This is not you. Drinking and throwing up all the time and waking up God knows where. And that's not the James we know and love. And I'm like, it isn't? No, it's not. The real James is this and this and this to us. And we love James. We want James to be a part of the bigger picture, the community. He's needed. We need you to write and record music. We love your music. People said that to me. And I realized that I was a part of something bigger than I had thought. And that the announcements that I got that stated I was a bad person because I could not kick my addictions or alcohol, that's not true. That has nothing to do with who I am as a person. It's a cold or the flu, and it's going to go away someday if I take the right medicine and if I get the right treatment. And so that's what I want to say to anybody that thinks you're too far gone or lost, man. I went from being able to drink with like 200 people in a room who all wanted me to be there. They were all buying me shots all night. I went from that to having to basically find a homeless dude that lived behind a dumpster, and I invited him to come have beers with me one day because nobody else would drink with me. That's it. He stayed in my apartment for 6 months, by the way. And he later went on to get clean and sober, and he reunited with his family. I mean, it was a great story there. But yeah, I went from being Mr. Popular to being Mr. Nothing because, people were telling me that I was a hopeless case, that I would never recover from addiction. People in my own family were just like, well, we just don't think we can trust you anymore. You're an addict. Addicts, they do bad things. We got to stop that type of talk and realize that what we're dealing with here is somebody who's sick and they need help. And we need to come together as a community and tell them how important they are and bring them back to life again, and you do that, and the appeal of what used to drive your boat is no longer there. You're just like, wow, uh, it's, how could I think that the end all of end alls was getting a bag of Coke and going into a bathroom at a dirty, filthy nightclub and doing lines off the back of a toilet? How is that like the end all of end all? It's not, man. It's not. There's greater things in life. There's love. There's friends. There's family. And people that don't have friends and family. There's a community out there that's ready to embrace you if you're willing to allow those tentacles to come in and embrace you. Um, do you remember that commercial? And there's a TED talk on this, by the way. I can't remember the name of the guy who did this, but the commercial about the rat that they had in the 70s and 80s. Maybe not.
Don't think
They
we
would
had that
show
one over here.
it was an anti-drug commercial, and they showed a rat in a cage that had a little feeder over here that had water in it, and a feeder over here that had Coke. And the brilliant study concluded that the rat always went to the Coke and drank the Coke until it killed itself. So cocaine is so addictive. That's what will happen to you if you use cocaine. That was the point of the commercial. Well, there was a guy that came along a few years later that was like, "That's stupid, man. That's the stupidest scientific method I've ever seen." And people were like, "Why? Why do you think it's stupid?" Well, here, I'm going to build Rat World. Okay, let me build my own thing. It's going to be a series of cages with, there's going to be steps, and there's going to be wheels that go around, and areas where there's grass and trees, and there's going to be other rats, lots of other rats in there. Well, guess how many of the rats went to the cocaine in that scenario? They didn't. They went to the water. They were enjoying each other. They had community. And I believe we all have our tribe. You just have to find what that tribe is. But man, there's so many, and that's one positive thing, I guess, about the internet is that it can connect you to a tribe of people who have similar tastes as you, or interests, or hobbies, or whatever the case may be. I couldn't believe it. We just got to play this thing called Dark Force Fest in Parsippany, New Jersey, and it was awesome, man. We're talking, I think, some like 50 or 100, no, like 125 bands or something that played. It was amazing. Huge festival. Took over this whole hotel that looked like a castle. I think that's why they're having it there. And but what was amazing to me was what a community of freaks, man. I mean, you're talking about the coolest looking people that you've ever seen. They dressed to the nines. The goth thing, was out of control there. And then there was OGs like me, the old guy, just kind of sitting there with some of my friends, like saying things like, "Man, when goth first came out, I was there, and it didn't used to be like this stuff. We were tough. Goths were tough back then. We had to be, because we had to fight, man. Everyone was always picking on us. We weren't these, it was funny to me to see that culture, how this community had all the different, basically characters that any community or family would have. But the point is that it was a great and strong and connected community of people. And no matter who you are, your tribe's out there, and you can find them. And that's really what we need to be pushing in mental health and addiction treatment is what I call peer-based recovery, peer support recovery, or peer-based recovery. They're showing now that that's so much more effective than hospitalization or inpatient treatment or outpatient, because of what I just said. When you're connected to a group of people, your tribe, that's what you need to keep your butt in the seat and not where it should be and going where it wants to be. Somebody said that to me once, and it was a life-changing moment. They said, "You know what? You need to stop trying to get away from the things that you don't want to do and start moving towards the things that you want to do. That's a huge statement, but they're right about that. So community is important, man. And we can end stigma. We can also come together as a community to end the unfair treatment of musicians and other people in the world too. I mean, hats off to Robert Smith. He's over there in the UK, right? Somewhere. The Cure. Yeah,
Not an icon in this
I
country,
loved it
mate.
how he took on Ticketmaster. He didn't even flinch. He took him on, man, and he won. They were just like, it was one of the biggest selling tours of the year for sure. Probably it was an incredible tour. But he right out, before they even started, he said, "We're not doing that resale thing. Everybody gets to pay the same price and see the show, and it's going to be affordable. It's going to be like $30 to see The Cure, where it should be." And Ticketmaster was like, "Well, we'll say yes, but we'll mean no." And they started to pull their stuff again. And Smith literally told them, "No one with those higher price tickets they're not going to get in the show, or we won't play. We will pull all the dates." And Ticketmaster had to bow to him, and he won, and that's amazing. But think of all the lives that touched and affected. Rather than paying $500 or $1,000 to be in the front row, some people got lucky and they were there early and they bought their tickets early. They waited in line for 3 hours and they actually got to go to the front of the line for once. It's amazing. So yeah, we can overcome that greed monster, the stigma monster, and we can create an environment where the artist is appreciated not only here but also here, in the wallet, because the artist needs it. This concept of the starving artist, man, why do we have it? It's like a given. You're going to be an artist. Oh yeah, well, you're not going to make any money. Better have a side hustle.
Tell you what, overcoming your monsters, I think, is a perfect place to end it as well, James. Thank you very much for coming on the show. For everybody listening or watching to this, if you've listened before, you know that we've got numbers in the description because of what James has been saying. I'm going to make sure that we get some addiction-specific ones in there. James, before you go, give us the name of that charity that you've set up again, just so that anybody listening can look it up.
Yeah, it's in the very early stages, and it's called Unlabeled Artists. Apropos there, Unlabeled Artists, because the goal of this 501c3 is to empower musicians to become self-sufficient through their art. Imagine that. What a concept,
Great to see
It
the
should,
day.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
really,
hope so,
really do.
brother. I hope so. Yeah,
Me
I
too,
hope
mate.
so, brother. Yeah, we do. We do.
For everybody listening at home, this is Grant for the Brutally Delicious podcast, doing Happy Hearts, reminding all of you that you're not alone. Peace out.
All right.